skip a note or two.
Hi there, I'm Ken Cowisher at Teletoon Studio. This is a follow-up video to explain the theory behind the game Skip a Note or Two, a game I came up with that teaches you the mechanics of voice leading without the need for the theory. This video is to fill in the theory part that the game doesn't really cover. If you haven't seen the video, even if you already know your voice leading movements, it's good to maybe check out the game because it just teaches you the mechanics of voice leading, not the general stuff you'll learn in a theory lesson. If you've already watched the video, you already know the mechanics of voice leading, but you need to practice just like you would any other musical thing, like learning your chords or learning your scales. Skip a Note or Two only covers the key of C, C major, that's it. It's only the white notes. We need to also talk a lot about numbers. So the first number I want to talk about is just the chords. So when we say skip a note, those were the three shapes we had in the game. Skip a note, skip a note. And that's what we call a root position triad. And of the triad, we have a root, which is 1, the third, which is if you take a scale, is the third note of a scale, and a fifth note. So that's our root position. In root position, the lowest note's a C, or I should say, in root position, the lowest note is what we call the root. Sometimes we call it the tonic, or you could even call it the 1 of the chord. Usually we call it the root. And that's the name of the chord. So this is starting on a C. So we have three elements. We have C, E, and G. Now, just a sec about the numbers. The reason it's really important to think about the numbers is if I'm saying C, F, G, C, that only applies for the key of C. If I play the same thing in D, we get D, G, A, D. So that's, E is E, A, B, E. So everyone has different letters, but all of those are 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. So your ears will start to hear the numbers. It'll hear a 5 and a 4 and a 1. Only people with perfect pitch hear, oh, that's a C, that's an F. Most musicians have relative pitch. Relative pitch is hearing more numbers, not letters. So that's why I'm going to be talking about numbers. Root position has a root, a third, and a fifth. That's a C major triad, and we just call it C. If it says C, we know it's major. Okay, so we have skip a note, that's root position. In root position, the C's on the bottom, the E is the third, and G's the fifth. You want to know the bottom note because that's the name of the chord. You always know the name. The third tells you if it's major or minor. And we're going to talk about that now. In a major chord, you'll notice we have to include the black notes for this. There's only 2 spaces between the third and the fifth, where there's 3. That's a major. To make a major chord minor, you have to lower it. Now the third is closer to the bottom note than the top. So, the third tells us if it's major or minor. That's the only difference between major and minor. It's where the third is. The third in a major is a whole step and a whole step. A step is skipping 1 note, including black notes. You need to include the black note. A minor would be a step and a half step. A half step is the closest note, neighboring note. So that's major, minor. It's only the third. That's why it's important to know not just the notes in the chord, but the function. The fifth is the strongest note other than the root. It gives the chord a lot of strength. We call that a power chord if we just play the root and the fifth. For rock and roll or a lot of music like bagpipe drones, those are perfect fifths. They're strong and stable. So those are the elements: root, third, and fifth. That's in root position. If we want to play the next shape, which is skip a note, skip two notes, it's the same. We move the bottom note up an octave, meaning the same note. Now we're going to have skip a note, skip two notes. So whenever we have skip a note, skip two notes, we call that first inversion. First inversion has the root on top. So the name of the chord is the top note now. The bottom note's the third. So that's telling us that's major. To make it minor, I lower it. So that's why you need to know that. And the fifth is now between. It's the middle note. Okay. The next one is second inversion. Second inversion, we have to again take the bottom note. This is an E, and we take it up an octave to another E. Now it's skip two notes, skip a note. In second inversion, the root's in the middle. It's the middle note. That's the root, the name of the chord. That's why it's the third note is on top. The top is on third. So if I want to make this minor, I lower the top note. That's now a C minor. In notation, it just says the name of the chord. So if it's a major, it just says C. If it's a minor chord, you're going to have a small m or a minus sign after the letter to tell you if it's major or minor. Okay, so now let's talk about all the chords in the key of C major. In C major, we have C, which is the one chord. We have D minor. D minor's the two minor chord. So even in numbers, we say minor. So we know it's, if we just say two, it would be a D major. The third, the three chord, is an E minor in the key of C. The four chord is an F major. The five chord is a G major. The six chord is an A minor. And the seventh is a B diminished. So in the key of C, we have 1, 4, and 5 as our major chords. And these chords are the most used chords in most music we hear. They're the most common chords, and they're the first ones you want to learn and be strong on. So going from a C to an F, you're going to do the move two notes up move. So that means the E and the G, the 3 and the 5 of the chord, move up. Oh, and the bass moves too. If I did this, that would be an F over C. And notice how it sounds different. Bass players, that's why they're more important than people realize. They control all the inversions. And the 5, we keep the 5, and the other two notes go down. Okay. 1, 4, 5, 1. Now, each one of the minor chords, the three minor chords are all related to the major chords, meaning, and the first one I want to talk about is the 6 minor, because the 6 minor is, if we were in a minor key, that would become 1. Meaning A minor is the relative minor of C major. And they're closely linked, they're sharing two notes. And again, if you play a C and the bass player goes to an A, it just becomes an A minor 7. We'll talk about 7s in a bit. So that's the 6 minor of C, or the relative minor. And that just means they share key signatures. So, in the key of F, we're in the key of C, but if we were in the key of F, D minor would be its relative minor, meaning D minor and F major have the same key signature. You'll see there's something in music called the cycle of fifths. And the cycle of fifths is a good way to visualize how all the different keys relate to each other and how chords that are close together in one key, and then the chords, as you go around the circle, the farther ones are farther away from the closer ones. So you'll notice that the C, F, and G are all beside each other. If you go C to F, that's 1 to 4, C's the root, and G is the 5. And you'll notice under each one there's a related minor chord. So that movement number 1, and skip a note or 2, if you're on a major chord, use movement number 1 to go to its relative minor. And this is a really common sound. Hallelujah starts with this sound. That's the 1 chord to the 6 minor. There's lots and lots. You probably recognize the sound. That's why numbers are important. You're starting to see. You start to hear the numbers. You won't hear C to A minor because it's the same as G to E minor or D to B minor or F to D minor. Every key has its own. So that's a lot to learn, but numbers are always the same. Every key, once you know the numbers, it's all the same. That's why you want to know the numbers. So, 1 note up is how you get to the relative minor. So F, the relative minor here, the 5th's on the bottom, so it has to come up 1. That's F to D minor, which is in the key of C, 4 major to 2 minor. Same with the G. Now look at the 5th's in the middle, because it's a second inversion, except for the bass player is playing the root. So it's really root position, but the triad on top. So the 5th has to come up now to an E minor. So that's 5 to 3 minor. If we were in G, that would be to G1 to 6 minor. I know it's confusing. I said the numbers get confusing, but we're in the key of C, so it's 5 to 3 minor. And that's the nice voice leading. And it doesn't matter what position you're in. It's always the 5th moving up, or this position. The 5th's on top, it moves up. In the minor key, all the minor chords are the same chords as the major key. But on the 5th, I'm going to have a whole video on just this topic. But just to say, in the minor key, the 5 chord, we raise the 3rd to a major, and we get a major chord by raising the 3rd. So we have a G sharp now. And that's because it sounds good to go back. We get that because if I kept the minor chord, you don't really hear it. And to even make it stronger, I'm going to talk more about this, but you make it a 7 chord. And how you make a 7 chord? Take the root, that's why you have to know which one the root is, and you lower it 1. And the bass stays on the root. And now listen how much more movement. There's more gravity going there. So in the major key, The first 7 chord we learn is the 5-7 for the same reason. Hear that? And just so you know, when you lower the 5 there on the 5 chord, you get a diminished. So actually we are using the diminished when we add the cool bass player plays the G and the rhythm instrument plays the B diminished. You get a G7, and see how nice that, rather than a G, that still sounds good, but the G7 has a stronger pull. Important thing to practice is learning your inversions on one chord. So to do that, we take the bottom note to go up and we make it go up an octave. So we're going to go from skip a note, then we're going to take our 2 notes here, the 2 high notes become the 2 low notes, and then you skip 2 notes above, and then you get your first inversion. And then again, you take these 2 high notes, make them the 2 low notes, so now it's skip 2 notes, skip a note. That's your second inversion. And then you do that one more time, and then you've done a full, you're back at the root position. And you should learn them block. This is very important, simple practicing that will make you better quickly. Or arpeggiated. Played apart. Very important exercise. The fingering for a major chord, there's only one time we use our second finger. There's 3, so 1 out of the 3 times. So root position is in both hands would be 1, 3, 5. Now it's different because our right and left hand are opposite. So the easiest way to think, if your thumb's on a 3rd, you use your second finger. Or if the skip 2 notes is on the outside or next to your pinky, you use your second finger. Just how our hands are. It's easier to stretch your thumbs out. And then you have all 4 fingers. You'll see with the skip 2 notes, all your fingers are on a different note. Your fingers become like measuring sticks when you learn music. It makes it much easier once you realize that. So whenever your thumb's on a 3rd, use your second finger. Or when you have that space. Once you learn it, it becomes muscle memory. You just have to start practicing this way, because if you do, you'll just know it. Okay, so now let's talk about using this for songs. Songs have something called chord progressions. And what a chord progression is, the harmony of a song. And usually musicians will think in numbers. Like they'll say, oh, it's a 1, 4, 5. So what 1, 4, 5 in C means is C, F, G. So a very common one would be 1, 4, 1, 5. So to do that, we have skip a note, skip a note. The bass note's going to skip 2 notes, and we're going to move 2 notes up. So this is level 2. And then to play the 5 from the root. So this chord progression is 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. And we use level 2. 2 notes up, 2 notes down, 2 notes down, 2 notes down. That means if I'm in this inversion, and if I'm in this inversion, so in this inversion is the outside notes, and then going down is the top notes. So you need to, doesn't matter what inversion you are, with these rules, and once the movements are clear, it just becomes automatic. You don't even really think about it. You just think 1, 4, 5, or C, F, and G. Okay, so that's pretty common, and that's a way to move from 1 to 4, 1 to 5. So you should practice that probably first. Another, using the same chords. Now here's a note about chord progressions. They're not copyrighted. So you can take any chord progression, use it in your own song. You have to make up your own melody and your own words. But for instance, the blues, there's thousands or maybe millions of blues songs, all the same chords. And nobody owns those chords. They're just public domain. And there's all kinds of chord progressions. All the chord progressions I'm showing you are public domain. They've been used hundreds or thousands, millions of times. Second chord progression I'm going to show you is a 1, 4, 5, 4. Very, very again. Now this time we have to do a movement 3 if we're doing that nice voice, meaning one note has to skip down 2 and the other notes follow 1. So in this case, the middle note goes down 2 to the 5 and then back. You don't have to do it that way though. You can just go 4, then everything up. That's pretty common. Or you could go down to the F and then again. And you could maybe use this. Notice now I'm in second inversion on C. That's why you want to be able to go to any inversion. And another thing, if you've practiced those triads, you can change your inversions on one triad. The next chord progression, it was really, really common back in the 50s and 60s. That's a 1, 6 minor, 4, 5. So you'll notice the 6 minor is the first of the minor chords to come in. It's the most common, and it's very common. And this you'll recognize because it's in so many songs. Here's a 1, 6 minor, the bass goes down, skips a note, and one note goes up. To get to the 4, the 5th goes up, as it always does. And then to get to the 5, 4, 5 is the same as the previous song. So that's level 3, where one note goes down 2 and the other one's followed by 1. So it doesn't matter where I start, I can use the same voice leading. But you might want to do it then, you don't have to do it the same every time, because you have 3. So look at all the possibilities you have. There's a video by a group called Axis of Awesome, and they do a bit on Just for Laughs. That's very funny. And it's where they play this chord progression and they go through about 50 songs. And they all start to sound like the same song. And that's how common this chord progression is. Really the modern day most common chord progression I hear. And that would be 1 to 5 to 6 minor to 4. So if you want to write a song that's a hit, this is a good place to start. Just start singing a melody and making up words, and then you're a songwriter. It's not rocket science. Now, in the minor key, you could do the A minor, which is 1 minor, to 4 minor. But on the 5, we need to alter the third, make the minor a major to E major. And then lower the root, and you get it. Another very common in minor is, now the numbers are going to change, because in the minor key we have 1 minor, 2 diminished, 3 major. It's the same C major, but now it's a 3. Actually, it's a flat 3 major. Correction. A 4 minor, a 5 minor, but we raise the 7th to make it a 5 major. And then we have a flat 6 major, flat 7 major. And then we're back on the 1 minor. So you've heard this a million times, and it's when you go 1 minor, A minor, flat 7 major, which is G, flat 6 major, which is F, to E, altered E major, which is a 5. We just say 5. That is with the level 3 movements. Most people just go but with level 3 you can go against Okay, one last thing I'm going to talk about, because this is mostly on triads, but as I told you about the 5 chord, you make it a 7 by lowering the root. And this is why numbers are important, because there's many things. Once you know one thing, you can learn the next thing by what you alter to get there. So now we're going to learn all our 7 chords in C major, because they're not all exactly the same. Because when we lower the one note on the root, on the 1 chord, we get C major 7. Because 1, 3, 5, and we call this a major 7 because it's the 7th note of a major scale. If it just says 7, it's actually a flatted 7. We call that a minor 7. I'm not going to go into that for now. I just want you to know the 1 chord's a C major 7, and you get it by lowering. Doesn't matter what inversion, it's always the root, the 1. 2 is D minor to D minor 7. Doesn't matter which inversion. E minor becomes E minor 7. It's an E minor chord with a 7 on top. The 4 chord, F major, you lower the root 1, F major 7. Just like the 1's a major 7. This is also a very pretty chord. So a lot of chords, jazz uses 7s and 9s and 11s. We're not going to get into jazz today. This is a very beginning harmony lesson. And the 5 chord we talked about already, you lower the root, you get a 5-7, not a major 7. A major 7 I'd have to go to a, but we want a 7 for the 5 chord. We don't want a major 7 on the 5. The 6 minor, you lower the root, you get a minor 7, A minor 7, 6 minor 7. And the B, people find this confusing. It's a B minor 7, flat 5. But actually it makes a lot of sense. Because a B minor 7, all it is, a B minor 7, and it tells you in the title. So if you take a B minor 7 and you flatten the 5, it's giving you the instructions. It's also called a half diminished, which the sign for that is a circle. Diminished is a circle, and if you see a line through it, that's a half diminished. And that chord happens most often as a 2 minor 7 chord, which goes to a 5-7 to a 1. More of a jazz thing, but it happens in some pop music. So those are your 7 chords. I think that covers it. Anyway, thank you for listening if you got through to this long video. That was the theory to skip a note or two. Thank you for listening. I'm Ken Cowisher at Teletoon Studio.
Skip a note or two.